Welcome to Elected Officials Essentials. My name is Cameron Diehl. I am the Executive Director of the Utah League of Cities and Towns, and it is really my honor not just to welcome you to EOE today, but to welcome you to local government and welcome you to City Hall. Over the next few hours, our hope is we don't scare you away from City Hall. Our hope is that you walk out of here better prepared to do your new jobs, have a better understanding of the partnerships and opportunities that exist now that you're mayors or council members, and hopefully have a better sense of how you can engage within the league. Because ultimately, when we talk about the League of Cities and Towns, look around. It's you. Mayors and council members, you are the League of Cities and Towns, and I'll talk more about that over the next few minutes. By a quick show of hands, how many people in here are first-time mayors and council members as of this week? Raise them high. Okay, look around. You're all in this together. Okay, how many of you have been elected before? Raise your hands. Okay, those of you who have been elected before, congratulations, you're now the veterans. So you are now the ones that your neighbors are going to be relying on. So yeah, Mayor Petro's laughing and Mayor Tran's laughing like, tough. Yeah, I know you still feel new, but you're now the veterans in this room compared to a lot of people. And this year we actually saw historic turnover in city halls around the state. So I just mentioned Mayor Tran and Mayor Petro from Kaysville and Layton. In Davis County alone, we saw turnover in the mayoral position of 80% of the cities there. Okay, let that set in for a second. That's a lot of institutional knowledge that's leaving, but it means that there are a lot of fresh ideas and new perspectives that are coming in. And that's just at the mayoral level. So I see new council members from Layton, there are new council members from Kaysville who I met the other night, and that goes city by city across the state. So part of the reason that we exist is to help you navigate this journey. Now it's early on a Saturday. So on one hand, I want to apologize for that, but on the other hand, I also want to thank you. Like, we are honored that you're willing to spend a Saturday with us. I also want to give Mayor Monson a shout out from Blanding, because I'm quite confident you had the longest drive to get here, right? I don't recall seeing anybody from Bluff. That's the only Mayor Ann I haven't seen today, so I'm quite certain you had the longest drive. Am I wrong? Anybody else from further away from than Blanding? Okay. I Google mapped it just to make sure that my memory was accurate. Well, you're at a league event, but we are being hosted by our partners here at the Utah Local Government Trust so that we could accommodate a group of this size. So before I get into my comments, I want to thank the Utah Local Government Trust and introduce their CEO and Executive Director, Steve Hansen, to make a few remarks. So Steve.
Well, first of all, let me just congratulate you and express my appreciation in the most sincere way I know how for your public service. It is really you that makes things work in our state and in the communities. The Utah Local Governments Trust provides insurance and on a pooling basis to 92% of cities and towns in the state of Utah. And so we insure roughly 228 of the cities and towns in the state. We also insure counties and special districts, and so we have a large pool. You own the Utah Local Governments Trust. And our goal is to provide you with training, with support, with leadership training and other things to help you accomplish your goals and your objectives around safety and loss prevention. We insure most of you here, your organizations. We have the all-important POEO, Public Officials Errors and Omission Insurance, which you ought to be aware of and concerned with. And just know that we have your back. We appreciate you, and we're here for you, and certainly support the Utah League of Cities and Towns. We've had a relationship for many years, and are one of the largest, in fact, the largest financial contributor to your organization, because we believe in this mission and what they can do. So thank you very much for being here, and enjoy the day.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you for the partnership, and thank you for hosting us in your building so we could accommodate a group of this size. Because of the ongoing pandemic and because of the building rules, we ask that you wear masks when you're not eating or actively presenting. And over the course of the next few hours, we'll be in this room, but we'll also be using different rooms around the building to break out and make sure you have an opportunity to engage with each other, get to know each other, because that is one of the big values of coming to League events, is meeting your colleagues from around the state. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about who you are, who we are at the League, what we do, and how you can participate and engage within the League. So I already mentioned the massive changing of the guard that we saw this past November. And again, congratulations to you, and thank you for your willingness to serve. I started at the League in 2006 as a legislative intern, and I've been the director now for over 4 years. But my roots are really in local government. My grandfather was the mayor of a small town in Idaho for 24 years. And growing up as the grandson of the mayor, whenever we'd go visit grandma and grandpa, there was always some fun story. So how many people here come from a city or town of, say, less than 5,000 people? Okay, so yeah, look, quite a few of you. That's the majority of the League membership, is communities of less than 5,000. But we represent everybody. We represent everybody from small towns all the way up to big cities. And when I talk about our board of directors, you'll see that we have that diversity. So who are you, the people in this room? We sent out a survey leading up to today to ask you who you were and get some information about you and why you ran for office. And as you can see, we have tremendous diversity of professions and backgrounds, and we also have a tremendous diversity about why people ran for office. So these are the different professions or occupations that people have, ranging from attorneys to youth soccer directors, law enforcement officers, to retired individuals. But what binds all of you together, regardless of what you do during the day, is your commitment to your communities year-round. We then asked you why you ran for office, because ultimately you and your families have signed up for the next 4 years to be yelled at, to spend your nights at long meetings with boring procedure, to go to conferences, and to make really tough decisions that's going to make half of your community mad. So ultimately, it matters why you ran for office. And for us as staff, it's actually inspiring to hear these comments. I personally have been inspired this past week. I went to more than 10 oaths of office, and we as staff went to I forget the exact number now, Susan, but it was quite a few oaths of office from St. George to Syracuse, everywhere in between. And it was inspiring to hear the speeches and the comments as people shared their love of community and why they ran for office. So in the survey, we asked you why, and here's just a handful of the answers. I care about our small community and our heritage while allowing for change and adaptation. I care about my community. I want to make improvements with housing affordability. How many people are concerned about growth in the state of Utah? Raise your hand. Okay, again, look around. Basically, every hand went up, okay, except for my cameraman who's handling the camera. I mean, everybody in Utah is concerned about growth right now. And that's both a good thing and a bad thing. There are challenges that come with that. There are also tremendous opportunities because we are the envy of the country. But with that comes challenges in housing and infrastructure and everything that comes with it. And you are now on the front lines to try to tackle those challenges. The League exists in large part to elevate your voice so that you're not just trying to solve the challenge specific to my hometown of Murray. Welcome. I was at your oath of office on Tuesday. I would never miss my hometown. But it doesn't matter if you're Murray and you're in the heart of the valley, or I spoke to a new council member from Goshen as she was walking in. Growth challenges are different in Goshen and Murray, but the high-level growth challenges are still the same of how do we ensure the quality of life of our residents today and tomorrow. We asked several policy-related questions, and the answers came back. We need to work on transportation, we need to work on housing, we need to improve our public safety, and those are the meat and potato policy issues that you will be dealing with as mayors and council members. We asked you about how to engage with the public. I really liked this one particular comment. I want to bring the city back together as one. It has been a really difficult time in our country over the last few years. And there were many mayors and council members in Utah and around the country who retired this year and didn't run for re-election because of how difficult it has been to lead a community. So again, major challenge, but also major opportunity for you to come in and bring our communities back together. bring new ideas, represent the residents. This is something I heard over and over and over again this week at oaths of office, that I want to give a voice to residents. And I applaud you for your willingness to do that, and hopefully we can provide you with resources today and at our conferences and through our resources to help you do that. And then I personally loved the service ones. I have a desire to serve, and I was asked to run. This came up over and over again in the survey, that I was asked to run. And to me, that's one of the noble things about local government, is you're representing your neighbors, and many people in this room ran because somebody asked them to do it. Okay, so that's a little bit about who you are in this room. So then who are we as the league? Well, we, within our mission, and hopefully everyone, as you picked up materials, saw our year-end report from last year, we exist to advocate for you. We exist to engage with you and provide opportunities for you to engage with each other. And then we provide training opportunities like today. And why do we do it? Well, because you are fundamental to the quality of life of residents. You exist as cities to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of your communities, and we try to help you do that. You'll see a hashtag throughout this presentation and all of our materials, hashtag Cities Work, and we encourage you to use that as part of your communication with your residents and with the general public to let them know, like, cities are working for you 24 hours a day. We are the level of government that answers the call when someone calls 911. We're the level of government, and when you turn on your faucet, the water arrives, the garbage gets picked up and taken away. So cities work 24/7 to provide quality of life for residents. Well, as part of who we are is you. I'm the director, and as I mentioned, I've been at the league now since 2006, and I've been the director for 4+ years, but we are governed by a board of directors that consists of mayors and council members from across the state. Our current president, you will meet later today, South Jordan Mayor Dawn Ramsey. She'll be here later to do one of our workshops. You, at our league conventions every September, vote for and elect the league officers and the league board. So you can see the league board consists of communities from Roosevelt to Salt Lake City and from Logan to Manti. So we have broad representation from across the state, from big cities to small towns. And the League Board of Directors provides the general direction to the League on public policy. They set the budget, they set the membership dues, and they set the overall priorities of how we can help you serve your communities. So really the strength of the League is you. And you'll hear me say that over and over again as League Directors. The strength of the League is really you, the membership. So here are just a handful of pictures of what your board members and officers will do for you. So there's Mayor Ramsey when she was elected in September. Behind her is Mayor Caldwell of Ogden. He's now our immediate past president, but has been an active voice in the league his entire time as mayor. There's a picture of us meeting with then Governor Herbert. That's City Manager Gary Hill of Bountiful, and now 3 former league presidents, former Mayor of St. George, John Pike, former council member Mike Mendenhall from Spanish Fork, now Mayor Mike Mendenhall of Spanish Fork, and then Mayor Caldwell. And then the picture at the bottom was from this past summer, when at the peak of the drought, leading up to the 4th of July, our board was very concerned about the potential for devastating wildfires due to firework use. And so we reached out to the governor's office and ultimately organized a press event to raise awareness around firework use, where we had fire trucks, fire officials, mayors, council members, all with the governor to do that press event. So again, perfect example of how the league elevates your voice to bring everyone together to work on an issue. Well, we as staff work tirelessly to represent you, either at the Capitol or to put on events like this. So hopefully you've met some of our staff as you've walked in today. We'll be around all day. League staff, can you just stand up real quick so people can put faces to names, or better put masks to names. But league staff is here, and please interact with us throughout the day. So we have our legislative team, and you'll meet our government relations director, Justin Lee, later today. When he presents, we have land use planners on staff. We have former tax commissioners like Roger Tu, wave Raj, who's our general counsel and senior policy advisor. And we have communications experts, Susan, you can wave. We have our operations team that you met as you walked in, Angela and Katie. And so we really have a tremendous amount of expertise on staff to help provide you with information and resources as you do your jobs. I'm going to take a moment to explain to you now in practice what we do for you and how you can engage. Later, Justin will talk about our government relations arm, but our advocacy efforts really are for you. Every city and town in the state that belongs to the League is entitled to participate in our Legislative Policy Committee. You can have up to 3 voting representatives on that committee. So it doesn't matter if you're Boulder or Torrey, or if you're Salt Lake City, everyone has a voice on the Legislative Policy Committee. And even before the pandemic struck, we were doing hybrid meetings to facilitate participation in the Policy Committee around the state. We engage with the legislature based on 3 key principles: respect, collaboration, and outcomes. We want the legislature and the state in general to respect your role as city leaders, just like we want to respect their role as a state. We want to collaborate and work together and focus on mutually beneficial outcomes on behalf of our collective constituents. During the legislative session, which kicks off now in just a week and a half, the League staff and your attorneys and managers and you, we will work collectively on about 300 bills that will impact cities or towns in some way. Okay? So in a 45-day session, you can go ahead and do the math of what this actually means. 45-day session, there will be about 300 bills that will impact how your city governs, whether that's in the land use space, around housing, or public safety, around police, and everything else, 300-ish bills. So we have key principles that we use when we look at every bill. Does the bill respect the traditional role of local government? Is it a one-size-fits-all approach, or does it respect that cities are unique? And will the bill result in an unfunded or unworkable mandate on cities? That's our starting point. So we as staff will look at bills that way, and then we rely on what we refer to as our extended family of city managers and city attorneys who will meet with us multiple times each day during the session to provide feedback and insight about how bills will impact cities. Then we have our policy committee that will meet every Monday and provide that general direction on bills. So regardless of what your city is, you can participate in our legislative process. For example, I mentioned Layton City a moment ago. The Layton City Attorney, Gary Crane, I probably talked to him 10 times a day at least during the legislative session. He's also the Morgan City Attorney, and he's been an attorney now for as long as I've been alive. Well, I'll sit down with Gary, and Gary will say, here's what we need to consider on this bill, this bill, this bill, and this bill. Then we have other cities who maybe can't dedicate their city attorney to be there every day, but who will call and say, hey, we're really concerned about this particular issue, and it's a mayor from a small community in central Utah says, I'm really concerned about this, and great, that's the feedback we need. Then we rely on you. When there's a big bill, we will send an action alert, we will send information out, we have a daily email that we send that provides an update of what's going on during the session in addition to our Friday facts. And then we need you to contact your legislators and say, hey, this is a great bill, or this is a terrible idea, and we need you to vote no. By a quick show of hands, how many of you have a relationship with at least one of your legislators? Okay, so about 2/3 of the room raise their hands. It is vital, even now as a new mayor, new council member, that you reach out to your representative or senator and you start to build a relationship of trust with them so that in the heat of the session, when there's a good bill or a bad bill, and you get that email from us, you feel comfortable sending a text message or calling your legislator and saying, Representative so-and-so, this is Mayor so-and-so, we need your support on this bill. And we'll help you with that because we provide those communication, or we give you that updated information, and we will connect you with legislators. So how does this actually work in practice? I'm going to give you a couple of examples. How many of you remember tax reform from a few years ago, and the legislature was looking at tax reform? Okay, maybe 1/3 of you. So back in 2019, the legislature was looking to overhaul Utah's sales tax system. And there were some really good reasons for why they started going down that path. Well, when the bill emerged, it would have had major consequences on local sales tax. Later today, when we have a finance director speak, he'll talk you through the general ins and outs of a municipal budget. But just know that roughly about 30% of an average city budget in Utah comes from local option sales tax. So when the legislature starts considering changes to sales tax, it would have an impact on every municipal budget in the state. As a result, we analyzed the bill, we brought it to the policy committee, we negotiated with the governor and legislative leadership. The bill ultimately didn't pass that session, but went into a study period over the interim session. They did a road tour around the state, went to 8 different locations. Our board of directors, the local representative of the league, spoke at every one of those. We provided information to the legislature about what different proposals would mean for cities of varying sizes and shapes. And ultimately, the final tax reform bill that they passed did not adversely impact municipal budgets. So we were essentially unimpacted by what they ultimately proposed. Now, it was later referred and it did not go into law, but it was a tremendous amount of work by mayors, council members, city managers, league staff, and everybody else to make sure the legislature was aware of the potential consequences on cities. So another example. In June 2020, after the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, the league sat down with the Chiefs of Police Association and we formed a joint task force. And we were seeking to find the space where we could both support our officers, but also identify areas of improvement to enhance community trust in public safety. So this was a joint effort with the Police Chiefs Association and the League of Cities and Towns, as well as city managers and city attorneys. We had mayors and council members and others involved. The co-chairs were the now past president of the league, Mike Mendenhall, and the chief of police of West Jordan. We listened to community stakeholders. We spent months listening to different groups and engaging with them, conducted surveys of Utah residents and police officers, and then actually this year we did a follow-up survey with police officers around recruitment and retention. And ultimately all of that work resulted in this past legislative session, so a year ago now, of 20 consensus bills that had the support of a wide range of organizations that ultimately we think found that space between supporting officers but also identifying areas of improvement. And a lot of those ideas came from our task force based on that overall effort. Likewise, this past September at the league convention, the task force brought a policy resolution to the full league membership that articulated what we had done to date and set the general policy direction for the league around public safety, and again trying to find that space. So that, and the league membership, and you'll be able to do this when you come to league conventions, voted unanimously to support that resolution. So now, going forward, as bills come up that are in the public safety space, we have our policy direction of what we can support and what we would oppose. When you look at what happened in other states compared to what happened in Utah, I am really proud of the collaborative effort that we had and the relationships we built, because we were all working together on Team Utah to find the space to support officers, but also to enhance community trust. Later, I'll talk more in detail about some of the survey results we had, because it was very eye-opening and it will be very helpful for you as community leaders and to see some of these survey results, all of which are now available on our website. The last example is COVID-19. So over the course of the pandemic, we have provided virtual town halls. In fact, in the weeks after the pandemic struck, we were doing a couple of virtual town halls a week, including a weekly conversation with then Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox to get hot off the presses updates of what was going on to help you lead your communities. As federal money has come into the state, we successfully lobbied to maximize federal dollars for local governments. So let me tell you why this is a big deal for your cities and towns. When Congress passed the CARES Act now a year and a half ago, Congress said up to 45% of this money could be shared with cities and towns, but they did not require that of states. So there were many states around the country that basically said, thanks, Uncle Sam, we're going to spend this money, cities and towns, you're on your own. But because of the collaborative relationship that the league has with the governor and with legislative leadership, and because of the mayors and council members within the league that were reaching out to the governor and to legislators, we successfully negotiated to get the entire 45% that could be shared with local governments, was shared with local governments, which meant that you as cities and towns had access to federal money that your fellow cities and towns around the country didn't have. And we've been successful with ARPA dollars as well, trying to maximize those dollars on behalf of cities and towns. And again, having that spirit of collaboration between state leaders and local leaders, because we're all in this together. So, here are some key dates for you within the advocacy and engagement space. Legislative Policy Committee will be meeting every week once the legislature begins. And the legislature, for better or for worse, kicks off on Tuesday, January 18th. At that point, I will be kissing my daughters goodbye and telling them I'll see them in March. Local Officials Day is January 19th, and I invite all of you, in fact, I implore all of you to join us. How many of your cities have youth councils? High school kids who come and participate with you? Awesome. That's how I got my start back in the day. I'm sure you're all surprised. But I was a youth council member in Murray, and I went to Local Officials Day as a high school student. And we host several hundred high school students on January 19th and provide programming for them at the Capitol. But then we also have a lunch with legislators where our president will be meeting with legislative leadership on the stage, and it's an opportunity for you to build relationships with your senators and representatives. And then we have two big events we do every year, our mid-year conference in St. George and the annual convention in Salt Lake, and you can see the dates on the screen for those two events. So I mentioned engagement and the ability for you to work together and learn from each other and build relationships and friendships. We'll start doing that today. So you're not just going to be seated in the same seat all day. After the breakout sessions during lunch, we're actually going to break up into what we refer to as our Communities of Commonality caucuses. So based on how your community groups together with other communities, you have a chance during lunch to meet fellow mayors and council members from similar cities around the state. So this was at our conference in September. There's Mayor Ramsey in pink and Lieutenant Governor Henderson. But this was our Women in Local Government caucus that meets as part of our conventions every year. And again, the opportunities to network with each other, build relationships, and learn from each other. We also communicate, and we communicate a lot. We have our Friday Facts email, so make sure you sign up. In fact, Susan, don't you fret, I remembered. So please make sure in your packet that you fill this out if you haven't already, and to let us know how you want to engage within the league, what issues matter to you as an elected official, so that we know how to best serve you and engage with you. We have our daily email during the legislative session, we have training videos, we have our podcast, and then we actually appoint almost 50 mayors and council members to state boards and commissions, where you can represent the league in a variety of capacities. One key training tool that we have, and I know I saw my colleague Meg Ryan here a second ago, but Meg Ryan is our senior land use manager, and she manages the Land Use Academy of Utah, which you can get to from the league website at ulct.org, but this is the Land Use Academy of Utah, which has a tremendous library of videos and training opportunities for you. As I mentioned, you can fill out this form, or you can sign up for Friday Facts directly from our website. This is the front page of our website. We collect photos from cities across the state, so if you've got a great picture of a playground or city hall or anything, please send it to us. But you can click through member services, subscribe to receive league emails, connect with us, type in your email address, tell us what you want to engage with us on, and then boom, you're into our system, and you'll start receiving those emails and other updates. Well, look up here and look for your city, and if you have any questions, you can let us know. This is just registered attendees, but we have grouped every city in the state into different communities of commonality, so that when we break for lunch, you know where to go. You'll either be in rapid growth, established mid-size, large cities, resort, or rural communities. So take a look, find your city, or even just, you can self-assign. So if you think you're a rapid growth community, by all means, go to the rapid growth lunch. If you think if you're a large city, by all means, go to the large city breakout for lunch. So we'll announce later in the meeting which room you'll go to during lunch, but again, it's an opportunity for you to engage with your colleagues. The last thing I want to emphasize for you is just how we operate. We as a league are a public entity. You fund us. The league is a voluntary membership organization. So every year we come back to the board and we say, here's how we serve cities, and ultimately the board establishes the membership dues that then hopefully your cities will continue to pay. We have had tremendous membership engagement and participation during my time as director. That has not always been the case. So thank you in advance for your engagement with the league and for your financial support. We also rely on corporate and partner sponsorships to fund us. There's my email address, by the way. I do reply to every email that I see. So please, by all means, contact me at any time. I'm also happy to give you my cell phone so you can connect with me anytime. But we have a lot of partnerships that we have around the state, ranging from my alma mater, the University of Utah, the Gardner Policy Institute, to Utah State University and the Institute on Air, Land, and Water, and the Utah Women in Leadership Project, to the Utah Clean Air Partnership, Get Healthy Utah, and many, many more. In fact, you'll hear later today from one of our key partners, Wasatch Front Regional Council. Andrew Gruber's here, the executive director, and he'll talk about how you can participate in that organization. They're a sister organization to ours. To me, they have the expertise nationwide on transportation, land use, economic development, how all these pieces fit together for quality of life. So you're going to hear a term, Wasatch Choice, over and over and over again in the next 4 years, and that is a good thing. Because we are really setting the standard in Utah for how to ensure the quality of life of our friends and neighbors. But Wasatch Front Regional Council is just one of the associations of government around the state with which we partner. So your participation in the league will really open up all sorts of doors and opportunities for you. I mentioned that we also have corporate sponsors that help us provide services to you. You met Steve earlier, and thank you again, Steve, for hosting us in the building. But the Local Governments Trust and Zions Bank are our two biggest sponsors. These are our gold level sponsors. These are our silver level sponsors, and these are our bronze level sponsors. Because of these organizations, we're able to keep our costs in line for conferences. They help provide the funding to bring in big name speakers. For example, last spring we had Arthur Brooks come speak to the league, and it's because of the financial support of these sponsors that we're able to provide you with the programming that hopefully helps you to do your jobs. Are there any questions for me before I wrap up? As Carson comes up to set up Todd, let me just finish by saying this. It is really a privilege and a pleasure for me to work at the league. I've spent most of my adult life here. What you do matters. And it's our pleasure to represent you at the Capitol, to provide you with opportunities like today, and to serve you, because you are making a difference for my kids, for my future grandkids, and for all of our friends and neighbors, because Utah is a special place to be, and it's because of the efforts of the people in this room that Utah is a special place.